Hi, this is Cole Hamels. Welcome to the Philly Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Philly Show with Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury. I'm Todd Zielecki. It's day 3 of the winter meetings in Dallas, Texas. We're all here. You're probably wondering where we were yesterday.
Yeah, we had some issues
on Monday. What happened? What happened is we had a major technical issue. Not on our end. We recorded an entire episode, and down the road when the pain has gone away, we'll tell you about the other episode we recorded and lost. Boy, we don't want to.
My heart hurts.
The wounds are still fresh on that one, Ruben and Jim. But so we're gonna redo an episode that we recorded yesterday that you never heard, and because we have to talk about Jordan Romano, or Romano as Rob Thompson corrected us today.
Not only corrected, but it corrected me on MLB Network to boot.
Oh, he did. He corrected us as well.
Oh, whilst we were on set, in Canada we say Romano. I know and then I think it was I can't remember who it was. I think it was somebody said Buck. I think it was Buck. Showalter goes, you know how they're going to say it in Philly though, Romano.
Yes, that's great. That's great. Well, so they signed Jordan Romano to a 1-year, $8.5 million deal with some incentives. They say he's going to be a potential closer, high leverage guy for sure. He's coming off an injury, had arthroscopic surgery in July. He was on a Zoom call yesterday with reporters. He says, I'm throwing in the mid-90s. I feel great. I'm motivated. I wanted to only sign a 1-year deal because I wanted to reestablish myself on the market, prove I'm one of the best closers in baseball again, and then hit the market next year. What did you guys think of that move and what it means for the Phillies?
I like the move. I especially like it on paper because he was so good from 21 to 23 with the Jays, an ERA in the 2.95 saves, a low whip, 30% strikeout rate, really good stuff. He enjoys the closer role. He was a 2-time All-Star in that span. So the credentials are good. It looks like he's got the makeup. I mean, he's proven he's got the makeup to be a closer. Obviously, the injury, the surgery, that gives you a little pause, maybe a little risk, a little fine print. But when you really look at that fine print, it wasn't the dreaded elbow injury. It was an impingement where, we spoke to him yesterday. He said he had maybe a loose body in there or a little bone spur. They cleaned it up. That was causing the impingement. And the fact that he's throwing so well. And I love the fact, I think it speaks loudly that he only wanted a 1-year deal. Yeah. It shows that he is confident in his health, confident that he can perform in that role and hit the market again. Because obviously this is his strategy to hit the market again next year for an even bigger payday. But I think we can all draw, a little bit of confidence from his confidence. So, they lost two good arms. Two good arms have left in Hoffman and Estevez, 2 leverage arms. It appears at the moment they're going to potentially just replace those guys with 1 arm, but at least at the back end in Romano. But I still think they'll tweak around the edges in the bullpen. And depending on what they can do in the outfield, I think they're going to try to allocate some resources in the outfield. If maybe they don't use all their resources out there, maybe they get back in for a more accomplished reliever. But I still think there's a chance that, Romano could be their big acquisition out there.
Yeah, I sort of view this as a low risk, high reward type of a signing in a lot of ways. I mean, it's money, it's real money, but it's not a ton of money. I don't think it really puts them out too much. My feeling is that it was an absolute priority. I mean, that bullpen needs to be shored up. There's no question about it. It did crumble at the end of the year last year, and you lost 2 guys in the back end. I like the makeup. I like the player. I've scouted him. I've seen him over the years. He's got guts. He's got balls. He can do the things that are necessary to close out games. I'm not sure if he'll be the guy. I would think he would be right now if he is indeed healthy and throwing like he had been, in 21 through 23. Obviously, 24, the numbers were poor because of, and it was pretty obvious he had an injury issue that he got cleaned up now. So I like all those elements of it. I do feel like there's other moves to be made. I think it's sort of a placeholder move. But that said, I mean, I don't think the Phillies have a ton of money to work with. So any of the moves that they have to make, I think they probably have to move Castellanos, maybe a little money, maybe Bohm, to be able to do other things to add maybe to the bullpen or add, starting pitching depth or, add some other things. Obviously, I'd love to see them tweak the outfield a little bit. I know they're going to be hoping that, guys like Bryson Stott improve. My understanding, I think they talked about it, that Stott was playing with, a real issue in his elbow all year long.
Right.
It affected him, and he did not progress. I was wondering why he was not able to get to the fastball consistently. That may be one of the reasons why. The year before, he did a really good job of getting on the high fastball. This year, he just could not get there, couldn't get extended, didn't have the quickness to be able to get there. Maybe it was the elbow. He really needs to step forward. There's other things that need to happen in that lineup for this team to be better. People need to improve. Guys like, they could take a page from Schwarber and say, Schwarber should listen. I'm gonna change some of my ability to make contact and stuff. And there's a lot of things that still have to happen internally with the team. And it's still a really, really talented team, maybe one of the more talented teams in all of baseball. But some things have to happen internally for them to be successful. And they do have to add, I believe, at least some sort of bat that will give them a different dynamic in the lineup.
Hey, Ruben, you mentioned Stott's elbow, and that it was illuminating because we talked a lot last summer about how he just wasn't getting to fastballs. It showed with the eyes, but it also showed in some of the metrics. So to hear that he struggled with a sore elbow was illuminating. I look at him and I look at Orion Kerkering as two young players on the rise who have put some experience under their belt, who have, really good talent and are really important in their individual roles. Two guys that could improve next year, or two guys who might be primed for a step forward. And the Phillies could really use it from both of those guys.
Especially the way that Dave Dombrowski talked about the bullpen.
Yeah.
The past couple of days, I mean, and yeah, he has said that he's comfortable with where they are. I mean, he specifically cited Orion Kerkering being on the rise, man. So if they don't add another legit late inning reliever, because you lose Hoffman and Estevez, you only bring in Romano. Romano. you really need Kerkering to step up big time.
Yeah.
I mean, that is huge. That's huge for this team. So,
and he might be ready too. That might be part of their calculus.
Yeah, and I talked to Rob Thompson about this at the late part of the season, especially when they were getting ready to add during the trade deadline. And I asked him, I said, you probably feel like you need another right-handed arm that you can really trust back there. He said, yeah, we do. That was then. Now they're trusting him. They're trusting him at the outset of the season for him to be able to pitch in the 8th inning. Now we're trusting Orion Kerkering along with Alvarado and Strom to pitch in the 8th inning.
Right.
Kerkering was pitching in the 6th and 7th pretty consistently. Now it's time for him to step up. And, you're asking guys to do it. I think he can. He's got now he's got some experience under his belt. I think he's got more weapons. He's moving his fastball differently. He's throwing a sinker along with his four-seamer, and he's throwing his slider not every pitch anymore. He just has to be able to continue to develop those things. But you can't necessarily think that he's going to do it. That's why I like to get greedy. That's why I want Tanner Scott, because I'd love to have that other arm in there to take the heat off those guys and make it really dominant. I don't think that they have the money to do it, frankly, unless they move somebody off. And I also think that there may be other priorities they want try to hit on before they do that.
But you're right, Ruben. Like, and Jim, we've talked about this. Big picture wise, the Romano deal at $8.5 million to me says they are super. And Dave Dombrowski said yesterday it's not an impediment that they can go past it, but that $301 million luxury tax, that's the fourth tax threshold. Every dollar spent over $301 million, they get penalized at 110%. And they don't want to go over that if they can. I think they might. Maybe they do. Maybe there's no way around it. But the Romano deal and saying, we're probably not going to get another reliever. Boy, we really like our lineup. I don't necessarily believe that they're done. I think that they're going to do something else, but it does tell you that the payroll is a significant factor in what they're trying to do. And that's why Dave Dombrowski keeps saying, he said it again yesterday, we're being very open-minded. We're having a lot of conversations about a lot of different ways to improve this team right now, like a lot. So I imagine that involves trades, that involves free agents, that involves being creative. He says nobody, there's no discussions about potential position changes. We asked him the other day about, would you move Trey Turner to the outfield? He's like, no, we're not moving Trey Turner to the outfield. Would you move Bryce Harper to the outfield? We're not moving Bryce Harper to the outfield. So they're not at that point in terms of being creative. But, I certainly think Alec Boehm could get traded. And Jim, you were there yesterday when Rob Thompson offered the nugget that he made a telephone call to Alec Boehm the other day while he was working out and said, hey, I just want to let you know, this means you're a good player and we're not actively shopping you. We're not trying to get rid of you, but you're a good player and people are interested. I do know, they've let teams know that you can have Alec Boehm in a trade. So it's kind of how you want to view it. How do you want to view it? They're not saying, please take Alec Boehm off our hands, but they are saying, yeah, if you want to, we're willing to trade Alec Boehm. But he made a point to reach out to him the other day and just kind of maybe calm his nerves a little bit.
Yeah, which I think is a good thing because I'm sure Alec Boehm, we keep calling him a young player, but he's in his getting to be his late 20s now. He's been around a while, but it can be disconcerting for a player to hear your name swirling and see a lot of trade rumors and stuff. But he didn't come out and say, Alec, we ain't trading you. He said, the reason it's out there is because you're a good player. We like you, but in the quest to move our team forward, you have to listen. So it's clear he's out there. There might be, and there's a lot of bodies on that third base market between Bregman and Arenado who could move. And maybe when some of those things clear up, there'll be a little clearer picture on Alec Boehm. But I still think there's a very solid chance he's right back there in Clearwater. And I would put him on the list with Kirkring and Stott as a player still on the rise. Yes, he has some flaws, but he is still a good player.
Really good player.
Yeah, and if he can fix a few things, maybe even attitudinally, he's going to be an even better player.
So the call that they made to Alec Boehm brings me back to Bobby Abreu back in the day when one of the things we ended up doing was trading Bobby, and it sort of opened things up when Pat Gillick took over. But there was a lot of rumors out there about him being traded. We did have discussions with him. It wasn't like we were trying to move him or get rid of him, but we felt like, we were open-minded about making that move. And so we went and visited with Bobby and told him, listen, we're not giving you away. We want to try not get rid of you. But we also are having to field, conversations with things because we're working on trying to improve the team. And so I think those are important discussions to have because you want to, at the end of the day, you still may have the player. I mean, Alec Boehm's going to probably, the likelihood of him getting traded is probably like 10%. So he's good. He's got a chance to be the opening day starting third baseman and hitting in the 4-hole, and he's the all-star of the team. So I mean, you're talking about a very important piece of the puzzle. And everybody talks about Alec Boehm. Let's move Alec Boehm. Got to get rid of Alec Boehm. Guess what, guys? Good luck replacing Alec Boehm.
Right.
I mean, his production. I mean, he was the best, most outstanding RBI guy in one of the best in baseball in the early part of the season. Now, he faded at the end. There's no question about it after the All-Star game, for whatever reason. There could be a zillion reasons. One of them, he had a hand issue at the very end. Yeah. Another was maybe he put a little heat on himself after being an all-star, trying to get to 100 RBIs, having his own personal goals, trying to put himself in a position to really make a lot of money. These are human beings, but this guy's got ability, man, and he's gotten better at third base. I know he had some, issues with being able to handle himself as far as his own personal, emotions on the field. But listen, this game's tough. It's emotional. It's negative. It's hard to perform. It's hard to hit in the major leagues. It's hard to have that expectation. And so at some point, I think, Jim, you're right. There's more to come on this guy. There's more to come on Kerkering. There's more to come on Stott. And I think in a lot of ways, the Phillies are still banking on some of those improvements.
Alec Boehm needs to come into camp if he's a Philly. This is a test of character. And he needs to come into – he's an emotional guy. If he's an emotional guy, he has to use those emotions to his benefit. He needs to come into camp after this experience of this winter with a chip on his shoulder and show the world that I'm a great player and that they made a mistake by even thinking of trading me. That's the attitude he needs to come in. He can't come in pouting. He can't come in with a negative frame of mind, but there has to be this silent chip on his shoulder that I am going to show the world that the Phillies would have made a huge mistake if they traded me. I'm going to have 2 great years and go off to free agency. That's the attitude he needs to have.
Boom.
Guys, holidays are here, fast approaching. You got to get your gear. You got to go to Shy Vintage Sports. Ruben is sporting I love that T-shirt, Ruben. That Spectrum
That's a
T-shirt.
good one.
That's very cool.
Spectrum.
You go to
Spectrum,
Shy Vintage Sports has 4 locations: Center City, Wayne, Westchester. They just opened a brand new store in Ardmore. You can go to shibesports.com, of course. And if you use the promo code, the Philly Show 15, you get 15% off everything in the store. You just show up, bust through, say Philly Show 15. What do you got?
Say Todd Pod.
That'll be the next promo code. But go to Shibe is great, man.
Todd, Justin Romano, he is from Canada.
Yes, sir.
And they signed him on the first day of the winter meetings. But you and I had an encounter that kind of hinted at maybe a Canadian pitcher could be on the Phillies radar screen.
What happened
later today, first day of the winter meetings? It's still probably one of the highlights of my winter meetings. You want to tell that story?
Well, yeah, we ran into Fergie Jenkins,
Fergie,
Hall of Famer Fergie Jenkins, one of the Phillies' greatest regrets in their 145-year history, or over what it was. I looked at that trade, Jim, yesterday.
And he's Canadian. He's Canadian.
Yeah, He's Canadian. So we're talking to this nice Canadian, Fergie Jenkins, and Jim goes, "Yeah, man, you were one of the Phillies' biggest mistakes." And he just kind of laughs, and he figures, well, I was just a young kid back then, because they traded him in 1966. He only made a few appearances for the Phillies in 65. I think he made 1 appearance in 66, and they just traded him like the first month of the season.
Oh my God. And
that didn't work out so well for the Phillies. And then Jim goes, I got to ask you a question. He's probably thinking like, oh, this guy wants to ask him, great baseball question. And Jim goes, do you drink Labatt's? Labatt's Blue? It's like, I am Canadian. Is that what he said, Jim?
Yeah, something like that. I was just joking with him. But,
it was funny. He laughed. He got the joke.
Yeah, he got the joke, but I did remind him he was a big Phillies mistake.
Yeah, you did.
So Ferguson Jenkins is pretty one quick story about him. I think he comes back to pitch with the Cubs. I think it was late in his career. He came back in 82 and 83. And he pitched a lot of games. One of the seasons, I was actually bat boying, and I did not know this, but apparently when he pitches during the course of the season, the man does not for whatever reason, he's got this thing where he does not wash his undershirt that he pitches in.
Oh my gosh.
So if he pitches like a good game, he'll hang it up afterwards, sweaty, nasty, and he'll wear it. He'll keep wearing it. No, because I think there was it's like a, us baseball players have some serious superstitions, right?
Sure.
Nasty ass smelling undershirt underneath his uni. Like nobody wanted to sit next to him in the dugout.
Maybe we'll see him.
He came back and pitched like 67 games or something for the Cubs late in his career. Think about that.
He
had a long career. If we see him in the lobby today, we got to ask him if he's got a clean undershirt on.
Let's go up to him and go. I just want to see if you're wearing those.
He smelled fine. I went past him. I think he smelled just fine.
Oh my God! He's in his 80s.
He was representing the Cubs during the draft, right? The draft lottery. I think. Yeah. He was on the dais.
He is in great shape. I hope I look and am moving around that well when I'm in my 80s. Yeah, just absolutely unbelievable. So, Phillies looking for outfield help. They might or might not get another reliever. Dave Dombrowski said that. We would like to have a number 5 starter come in at some point, but you're not signing a number 5 starter right now. Right now they're looking at the internal options, Taijuan Walker, et cetera, et cetera. So they've got some work to do, but they got one thing done. Today is the Rule 5 draft, which is that exciting to anybody? They could lose a couple.
Well, it's always exciting to me. It's exciting to the people who are real baseball people who feel like they can get a player for nothing, basically.
Right.
What's it, $100,000 now?
Yeah, Dave pointed out, Dave Dombrowski pointed out yesterday, he's like, yeah, we might take somebody, but he's like, we're also picking like 29th. So the chances of us finding somebody quality at that spot and then keeping them on the roster all year might not be that great, but they could lose a couple guys. So
big question if they're going to lose Griff McGarry. I mean, fire-armed right-hander who is exciting and kind of was untouchable back in 2022 at the trade deadline just because of that great arm, but just has had huge issues throwing strikes. It'll be interesting to see if somebody takes him and can get something out of him, kind of a referendum on Phillies pitching player development. But we'll see. He's got a hell of an arm, but the Phillies left him unprotected. I'm really curious to see what happens with him.
I think it's more mental than anything else for him. I don't think there's any question that it was an issue with him in college. I think it's continued. It's been a struggle for him. But there may be somebody who can feel like they can get to him, maybe a different change of scenery, whatever the case may be. I remember this one of the biggest days for Pat Gillick, myself. I mean, trying to pick up a player, maybe if you really like somebody, trying to trade up, pay for it, that sort of thing. Ask a team to pick a guy and trade for him or trade that pick. There's a whole host of things that can happen. Not as exciting for a team like Philadelphia who's trying to contend, but you never know where you can grab some talent over the years. It's kind of, you just never know. You just never know, guys.
You never know. You never know what might happen.
There was a year with Chris Gomez, I think, Baltimore had a deal with him, and you guys picked him, or you had a deal with him, and Baltimore picked him? It was weird.
No, so Chris Gomez had just before we really needed an infielder.
So you guys took him,
shortstop, and we told him we were gonna take him, and we ended up that they were so mad at us. Like, dude, that's your fault. You signed him. You didn't put him on the roster. Right. You made him available. And I remember who was it? Jim Beatty was the GM there, and like he was pissed off at Ed Wade. Like, why would you be pissed off? That's your fault. And then there was one time that we actually remember we almost Rule 5'd our own player, a catcher, who ended up going to the Boston Red Sox. He was a Venezuelan catcher, and we really needed a backup catcher at that time. This is like one of my first years, 98 or 99.
Okay.
And we were going to pick our own catcher because we had signed him. We had done a good job of signing him as a 6-year free agent. We should have waited until after the Rule 5 draft.
Right.
We found out that someone was going to take him. I think Boston ended up taking him. And he played for Boston that whole year. And we ended up having to sign like a backup catcher. I think we ended up having to sign like Tom Prince or somebody like that because I'll go back and take a look at it. In 98, we'll have to look at the rosters for the Boston Red Sox and see what catcher that was. But it was like a backup catcher, pretty good. But we were going to take him ourselves, and then somebody else, I think, ended up Rule 5 in him. I think the Boston Red Sox Rule 5.
There is some fun behind the scenes stuff if you really get into it. Like, how about Phillies drafting Noah Song in the Rule 5 a couple of years ago? Guy was in the Navy, hadn't pitched in a couple of years, but Dave Dombrowski loved him at the time. He was the top of the rotation type of pitcher before he went back into the Navy, and surprised the hell out of the Red Sox when Dave Dombrowski took Noah Song. Didn't work out, but it was kind of a cool story when he got to camp. And
I don't know if he was the top of the rotation pitcher, at top of the potential or arm.
Right.
There's a lot of development that needed to take place.
But so the Rule 5 today, Phillies made a move. Maybe they'll make something else at some point down the road, I imagine. Maybe before we even, Jim, maybe when we're on a plane tonight, we'll land in Philly, and we'll see if they've made it.
And just like the year we were all racing to the airport in Nashville, and Ruben traded for Ben Revere. And
that's right.
I had to write that story from the gate in Nashville.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a difficult one because we had some issue. The only issue really was we were taking a look at his knee. There was a real issue with his knees, and speed was his game. So we were like, Christ, we made this deal, or a potential deal, but we're waiting on medical. It was really a medical issue. And hey, is this guy going to be okay? He's been taking these syn disc, injections and stuff. Is this guy going to be okay for the next few years? He's under control, but he's a speed guy. We really needed a center fielder because I wasn't going to re-sign Victorino at 3 times $11 million or whatever the hell it was. And I had told the Aces, their agents, like, he's going to become, I love Victorino, but he's going to become a right fielder and a right-handed hitter because he's not going to hit left-handed anymore. And they're like, BS, that's not going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. He became a right fielder and he became a right-handed hitter.
That's right. You gave it up.
Listen, he helped them win. He helped them win.
He did.
And it was a right fit for them. But and God bless him. I love Vic.
He got $39 million for Boston.
That's exactly right. $13 million a year, and he was asking for like a 12 or something like that from us. I'm like, We don't have that kind of glue for you right now, my friend.
Phillies don't have a lot of glue right now, it seems, either. I mean, they've been spending a lot of glue, but they're limited. So we'll see what else they do down the road. I also want to mention you can get Phillies Show T-shirts by 47. Go to thephillyshow.com. Pick up a Phillies Show tee if you love the show, and look very, very nice for the holiday season. Very nice. Well, guys, maybe we'll be back later this week if the Phillies make a move. Hey, don't forget to check out the Mike Schmidt documentary on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on MLB Network. We caught a sneak peek, and it is tremendous. It really is it's a great documentary. They did a really, really nice job with it, I thought. So that's something else to keep an eye on. Yeah. All right, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Smell you later, boys.
Smell you, Jim.
The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like us, give us a review. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, and Threads. Find Ruben's analysis before, during, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Find Jim at allphly.com. Find me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and MLB Network.